talking today about incorporating gamification into synchronous and asynchronous courses. I'm Brian Stevens, Senior Lecturer in Business Analytics and Statistics, also the Faculty Director for Technology Enhanced Education in the Haslam College of Business. Maybe my title will just get to, eventually the presentation will just be, I don't know, it's become very long. But with that, it just means I like teaching and I like tech. That's my title. I should just be that, the tech and teaching guy. And I really am honored to do these things because when I was growing up, I had passions, and you'll see that throughout here. And then I want you to think how this applies to you, because I keep saying this to every educator. You don't try to emulate another educator. You try to find what you're passionate about, what works with what they're doing, and how it fits into your toolbox. I will say this towards the end again, but I think we all know this. I wouldn't have known this in my first year or two of teaching, but don't try to make mid-semester changes. Once again, the syllabus is a contract with the students. We're probably all preparing for spring 2025, and that's where I think you can test drive some stuff. So when you hear things today, think of it as a buffet table, and you're picking it up for your spring 2025 plate. Maybe it'll stay on there to the fall 2025 plate, or it'll be one of those things you don't pick up again. But test drive some new stuff. So with this, it really all boils down to psychology. So I've got Sigmund Freud right here. I actually have an undergraduate in psychology. And with that undergraduate, I ended up waiting tables. I managed an American Eagle, and I dug holes throughout Texas. And you say to me, well, Brian, how does your degree in psychology play into effect? It actually helped in those things. You'd be shocked. I actually value my degree in psychology, especially when it comes to teaching. I value my degree in psychology. But when I was waiting tables, I had to analyze the person I was waiting tables for, figure out what kind of communications they wanted, whether they wanted more of a silent service or a server who was going to interact with them. When I was managing American Eagle, I, of course, had to work with my employees and the other managers, which I didn't realize. Manager to manager communication is very important too. That was one of my least favorite jobs. But when I got into teaching, I realized that the reason I didn't do work in school was because I wasn't motivated. Students usually don't understand the long-term goals we have for them, where at the end of the semester, they have a skill set or they have new knowledge. They only see the short-term rewards. And that's what we usually have to focus on. So how do we do that? How do we get people to focus on these things? Well, a bunch of different ways. And this goes down to psychology right here. Does anyone know? And you can say it in the chat. So I am watching the chat at all moments. So this is an interactive lecture or presentation, brown bag presentation. What does negative mean in this regard? Like when I say a negative reward, what is an example of a negative reward? What would be a negative reward? So reward means makes you happy. Reward is something we like. So what is a negative reward? Oh, I haven't scrolled down on the chat. Looks like we got a lot of answers. Thank you, Dr. Harris. Negative reward is going to be the idea of taking something away as a reward. For children especially, this is pretty easy. Just say you don't have to do your chores. You don't have to cancel an assignment right there. Great answer. Cancel an assignment. Or giving an additional drop. You could argue is giving a drop, taking away. It's kind of the same thing, but it's still a reward. It's something positive that happens to them. And when you think about kind of relieving the extra work, that can be a negative reward. And I've been thinking about this a lot. Like a lot of times these talks give me time to think about what I'm doing. And truthfully, I think when it comes to drops, I almost think all the drops should be earned. Hey, students are gonna be mad. Don't put this video out there. But I'm like, why don't I put in my syllabus that you can earn drops throughout the semester and put them at different checkpoints? That way, maybe they missed the first drop opportunity and they're like, well, I don't get another drop. Now, the issue is that this is going to cause issues with Canvas. And that's one of the things we hate as educators. I hate it, is when we put more work onto ourselves because now we have an uneven amount of drops. This can usually be done with Excel at the end by writing code and coding in. It adds a little bit of extra work. So I will say that. Sometimes you get the benefit, but sometimes there is also the detriment of extra work. But it's something I'm toying with in my mind right now. What is a negative punishment? Does anyone know what a negative punishment is? I wouldn't suggest doing this. Instead of giving a gold star, you take away the gold star. So we just took away all those stars. You just walk over to the student's paper, you say, no, I'm taking away the smiley face I put on your paper. I don't believe in the punishment aspects of this. I've never seen education as a negative thing. One thing I think of us as educators is people who are representatives of education. I was very lucky. My first negative experience in education occurred when I was about 20, maybe I was 30. No, I was 34 or so. I'm trying to figure out exactly when. I won't say exactly when. I don't want anyone to figure out. But I was in class. I raised my hand, and the educator looked at me and didn't call on me. I was like, that's weird. And then he kind of turned around, did some more writing on the board, and some students looked at me, and I raised my hand again, and he looked at me, and they turned around. And I thought to myself, if I was younger, that experience right there could have really soured me to the idea of education, could have pushed me away. And so these punishment aspects of education, I don't think should be involved. We're not here to break students down, we're here to build them up. So when it comes to punishment, like positive punishment, like I'm going to give you extra assignments, I'm not for them. So don't worry, I was kind of blocking that one, but I don't believe in breaking students down. I believe in reinforcing good behaviors. Now, the problem we run into is this. We can see the steps for our students. Has anyone here in the chat ever assigned a group assignment? Comes time for the group assignments for your students, and then all of a sudden the students are nowhere in the group assignment the night the group assignments due, and you got groups emailing you, we haven't even had our meeting, we have no idea what's due, no one's written the paper, no one knows who's going to present, and you're like, what is going on? What happened? And that was me my first few semesters. So feel free to share that in the chat. You see me looking over here, I'm looking at the chat. And I realized very shortly that we as educators know the steps. We're here teaching because we can do the steps to teach, like make a PowerPoint. But when it comes to students, sometimes they haven't had the experiences yet to learn the steps. As a student, I hated group work. A lot of students hate group work. And I think that is an issue because the responsibilities are hard to delegate. And you usually see quite an imbalance of responsibilities. And then all of a sudden, there's a dropping of the ball in responsibilities, and then there's confrontation. And I think there is use for group work, but it has to be done correctly. So when you think about this, I would stress this to anybody. I like milestone assignments for group assignments. Exactly that, Dr. Donovan, that is exactly what to do. If you do not have those checkpoints for students, you are not going to achieve what you're looking for because a lot of students won't know how to go through the milestones. And so something I've done for my students is I create a lot of kind of flash sales on bonuses. So this isn't quite the gamification yet. We're going to get to that. But at the start of the semester, having bonus opportunities that are quick, that are easy, and that give them some huge benefit. Not a benefit in like 100 on an assignment. It can just be +1 on one assignment, +2 on an assignment. You'd be shocked. I'll give you a point on your assignment, and students will say, whoa. They'll get so excited for just a point, especially if it's only like a 5-minute task. So my usual first task for my students is to get them on our Discord. We have a Discord called Stat Nation. It has over 5,000 members right now, but find these small little tasks that take about 5 minutes and front load your semester with them. Now, I know students are getting hit with a lot of work at the start of the semester. I try to send out my stuff a week in advance, and I try to tell them, you have until the end of the first week. I go to Canvas and I click has not completed, and I send them a reminder on that assignment. It's tough. The start of the semester is where I put in the most energy because I've found people who don't do the first few assignments, pretty sure what I've seen from the data is around 40% fail. Now, not a lot of them are not doing the first assignments. If there's English people here, sorry, that was a double negative. We don't have a large amount of students not doing the first assignments. It's of the ones who do it, conditional distributions and statistics, there is a large percentage who fail. So creating this engagement from the start, creating this kind of FOMO, this fear of missing out, is something I find to be very important and lean into and put all my energy into. And we're coming up to a very special thing, which I'm really excited about, making your class unique to you. And here it is. So I've got a little bit of a surprise. I'm trying something out. We're going to see if it goes well. I'm going to put a link in the chat right here because they say show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. My surprise for today is we are throwing MuBot, my bot, a birthday party. And here is the link to his birthday party in the chat. This is a public stream on YouTube, so if you chat, people will see your name and they will see what you're saying. My students have in their syllabus that they can use pseudonyms and they can tell me who they are, so that way I can track their points. And if they don't want to do it, I can track it a different way or do a different point system if they don't want. So students understand a public stream versus an unlisted stream, which our classes are unlisted on YouTube. So click that link in the chat if you want. And now I'm going over to the Discord and I'm announcing MuBot's birthday party in the Discord. They already got announcements yesterday, so we might see a bunch of people join in. What I'm going to do right now, and no one will be able to hear you, but they'll be able to hear me, is I'm actually going to start a stream on YouTube. Once again, it's kind of hard to say what I do. It's kind of hard to explain until I show you. So we got 25 people watching right now. Here we go. Let's bring in MuBot. He'll be on for about 5-6 minutes, and he'll try to explain.
Hello, everybody. I'm just going to start the stream. Wait, I'm going to go to the intro stream for the students. Okay, the live stream is starting on YouTube. You might need to mute the YouTube stream because you will get double audio. Okay. Let's see who's in the chat. Students need to be here for us to interact. Let's go to the main screen. Sarah and Noel, good to see you. We have a bunch of students in the chat. MuBot is waking up to give you points. Here is 5,000 points. Hello, Jesse. Good to see you there. MuBot is currently awake and handing out points. Jackson, good to see you. Dylan, good to see you. If you would like to comment on how MuBot helps your education, let other educators know. A bunch of educators have come to MuBot's birthday party. MuBot is giving out points. Charlie, good to see you. Charlie is here. Teacher Hazel, thank you, Teacher Hazel. Thank Teacher Hazel, a member of the channel. Thank you, Rylan, and thank you, happy birthday right there. MuBot needs his own special screen, not Brian's screen. That's Brian's screen. Thank you, Madeline. MuBot making class fun. MuBot does try to keep the chat active. Any other ways that MuBot helps you? Let's do a poll. Who helps more? Brian or MuBot? Tell the educators MuBot is the gamifier of the class. Who helps you more? Brian or MuBot? Please pick MuBot. Thank you, Jesse. We will pin your comment. MuBot helps keep us focused and engaged in the actual content of the course by encouraging us to answer questions as well as tracking our attendance. It's true. MuBot knows all. Feel free to show off quotes or jokes of MuBot. MuBot makes me motivated to participate even more if I get a wrong answer. You are welcome. Let's throw out 50,000 points. MuBot will probably overheat with those points. But we have to go and go back to presentation. Rutan, good to see you. Happy birthday to me. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Sarah, for all your Discord help. We will play one quick outro for the educators, and then we will go back. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Go away, MuBot. Okay, so I try to explain to people what I do, and it's very hard to put into words. How did that experience work for people? That's the first time I've done a dual streaming experience. And let me see if I'm offline on YouTube. YouTube's birthday party should be ended. It looks like it's over. We are no longer streaming. Did that experience work for people online? Tell me in the chat. Oh, it's because Mubot was talking, maybe. I hope he was understandable. He doesn't come on the stream usually that long. He usually is in the chat. The voice was correct. My voice should no longer sound weird or different. The voice was correct. I've worked on his voice. The students have picked out his voice. I just had to mute the YouTube, but otherwise all sounded good. Thank you so much, Dr. Emberton, right there. So I'll explain briefly what was going on right there and what was happening. And we'll go back here to the slides, a little show, don't tell. Back over here to the slides. So what Mubot is he's actually a chat robot that you can use to track what's going on in a YouTube stream, or thank you so much, Dr. Jordan. He's a chat robot that watches what people are saying and then can interact with it. He has jokes, he has quotes, and all these things are programmed. So let me actually show you. He's still running in the background, but I have put endless time into him to develop these things. And here's what he looks like. That's the actual Mubot. The fake Mubot is over here. There's the other Mubot. The reason his mouth lights up is I have an audio gauge that tells when it goes above a certain level. Like if I whisper, his mouth won't light up, but it flips an image. And so I took the image of him. Yeah. And I try to give him like the I am Mubot, like I am Groot. There's a lot of references with him. And he then gives out points to students when I do the commands for points, which the commands for points are located on my Stream Deck right here. And so you can see the Stream Deck. If you're not familiar with those, I can explain more about those. But I press the points button and it just instantly gives out the points. He's offline right now. If I press the points, or he's online still, it just won't go through to YouTube. It might appear in the chat here. He has quotes. These are 400 plus quotes of different things like ban the question. I want to only speak R, no more English. This question is off topic, but how do you share your computer screen? This is using OBS. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to talk. Let me put my email in the chat right now. If you have any questions about anything I do, email me and I will meet with you. We can talk about it. I do a lot of streaming online and making of videos. So I'm very happy to meet with people. So another thing you can get from this is if you're like, how do you use OBS? How do you share your screen like this? Let me know and I can meet with you and go over stuff and learn together. Extra quotes are our jokes, like what language do ophthalmologists code in? Python, I think that's a snake doctor. What languages do pirates code in? R. We've got the points over here in currency. That's got a bunch of students who have not said that they want their stuff to be shown, but I told them today's stream is public. This is how I track all their points. And I think it's the timers are things that he says regularly. He says these on like a 15-minute timer or so. So he'll pick like one of these, like chat once every 15 minutes so I remember you. He'll tell people where the Stats One web page is. And actually, one of my favorite things is going to be the commands, which we have a ton of commands. Like if someone says Bama in the chat, he'll say Bama gonna lose. If someone says good, he'll say good morning to that person. If they say howdy, he'll say Gig'em, which they say down in Texas. I was in Texas for a bit. So he has all these different things that I've coded in over time. He doesn't come with all these things coded, but this is how he will interact with students. Yeah, exactly. So Dr. Kaplan, really great idea right there. And you see he's got like, you say freedom, he puts eagles in the chat. You say fox, my wife's a veterinarian, so there's a bunch of animals in here. So hats, all these different things. He'll say different things, and it's all, we used to have lag, and we'd say, Darren, stop messing with the internet. It was an inside joke when I was in Texas, whenever we had lag. And also, he can tell you how to get to my office and show you a video. So if somebody asks, where's your office? Instead of having to put a bunch in there, here's how to get to Brian's office, and then he links the video. So a lot of his commands really help me, like applet I use all the time because we have an applet we use, and I used to do the exclamation, now I don't. And he'll tell students like, here's where the applet is. So when students are like, How do I get to the applet? I don't have to look stuff up. I just type applet. Now, better yet, students actually start typing these things in the chat, and then they start like saying, oh, here's how to get to the applet. When it comes to reviewing for the test, they can type in exclamation review 1, 2, or 3, and Mubot will link them to the review. So all these different things right here make my life easier as an educator. Instead of having to say, my office is here, I say, here's a video on how to get to my office. Now, here's the thing, though, and this is what I think scares people. This is 5 years of making stuff. This is 5 years of developing, coming up with ideas. All the quotes are sourced from our class. Life is scary without calculators. Commas are my mortal enemies. What happens is, for quotes, is students say something in class that makes another student laugh, and someone will say that should be a quote of the day. And they get really like excited. Marriage is a gamble. All these things, like it's like a student says it because we're saying something in lecture, and then it's like a funny thing that we remember. Also helps me remember different semesters because I'll be like, oh, I remember that. Explain now. It's a word. It's an X word. Sure. We need bunny content. We have 2 bunnies. So when it comes to it, I think you need something that makes your class you. And so let's talk about the gamification, how it applies to synchronous and asynchronous. And I think that's what we're all here to think about today and go through. How do we turn our class into something that's gamified a little bit, whether it's online, going through together, or online, asynchronous? And so I'm a huge gamer. And we've got, when you go into a video game, a lot of times you get struck with that splendor. This is the opening to Elden Ring. You walk out, you see something amazing. And I really think you need to build that awe and inspire for your course. You need them to come out, see the Elden tree right there and be like, whoa, something cool to get them excited. Elden Ring, yes. Got to play the DLC. It's good. So I did. It's good stuff. You have to have some instant gratification. I know it's tough, but I think my problem with education as a kid was I'd get behind and I'd see no path forward. When you open up Candy Crush, you can open up a level and start winning, and you get that donut right there. I think it matches with everything and destroys everything. That is the coolest moment. You get excited. So you need those bursts of excitement in education. So be thinking as you go through a course, how do you create those bursts of excitement? For me, it's the buttons with Mubot. Mubot creates those bursts of excitement. The problem is there is a bit of a tolerance to the points. Throughout the semester, the points get bigger and bigger because I just dropped them 50,000 points. They've never had that big of a point drop. And I think a few people might have reacted, but usually when I drop 5,000 points, they go crazy. But they were there for Mubot's birthday party. And I will say this, the way I do the points is if you show up online to, I'd say, about half of the classes, you should get all the points. I don't make it very hard to get the points. You just need to show up. But man, do students want to be the top of the leaderboard. And also when I reset the points and students come back to visit and they go to the stream, like Charlie was visiting, he was a former student visiting. When they come back and they check their points and their points are gone, I have to like give them points back, even though it doesn't matter anymore. They love it. They love their points so much that even when it doesn't apply to a grade, they want to do it. They want to get their points back. So I think gamification is something where you get these small rewards. It creates an element of excitement, and it keeps people motivated to where there's always a chance to do something to help out your grade. So be thinking about in your course, how do you create small excitement and moments where they have opportunities that are isolated? And it's not like a full assignment. It's just something like sign up to this, do this, attend this, and then you give the points or the bonus. So this is Mubot once again. This is how the points work. Once again, if students do not want their points to be displayed in any way, they can use pseudonyms. And I will say this, what you notice right here is I do a Pokemon Go style where experience gets harder to get. So many games like Pokemon Go have that experience at higher levels, requires more and more and more. And we name every tier. Something we've started doing, and I actually met one of the students today. He was in the library. And we started naming the levels. So I can put up my 2 hours later screen. I'm over in the currency right now, but I'm clicking the hat to show you all the levels. And we've created all these different levels right here, like Ava influencer level, King Cameron level, ham and cheese, cat named Quant, Dolly for president, coconut Red Bull, coconut berry Red Bull. All these levels are levels named from students with their inspiration, like Emma Momema Bobema level. So that was Emma's level. And they say that they want to be a part of Stat Nation and want to be on the levels. And of course, if they ever wanted to be removed from it, it's not their full name. It's just, hey, Brian, I want to be a part of this. I want to have a level named after me. And then we name it with what they want. And usually there's some of the highest point getters. So it gets them involved. And also some of them even come back to say, is anyone at my level? Has anyone passed my level? What are the new levels? And just creates kind of an excitement, a buzz about it. So how do you do this? Well, you saw MuBot. So I want you to be thinking about today, what is your hook? Does anyone have a hook for their class? In the chat right now, do you have a hook that pulls people in and makes it more grand than your class? Like, I think MuBot was one of the best ideas that I've had. Just like our class needs the personification of a bot, the embodiment, like he has a corporeal form. Let's see if anyone in the chat. And you don't have to copy what I do. I say, come up with your own ideas. What is something that just like you see something and it's like, whoa. I had an educator who did Around the World in 80 Days. She had just graduated, so she was a new high school teacher, and we would all do a big presentation where we all came later in the day on like a Friday and presented about a country. And I'd say that was the big like wow moment in that class. I think you need these wow moments that sit with students and they remember. So if I'm thinking like if Brian was not a math teacher, what would be his MuBots? Well, it's on the next slide. It's more about me being a gamer and rewards over time. Let's go to the MuBots because I went out of order here. So here are the MuBots. We'll talk more about these goals in a second. I totally went out of order on my slides, but if Brian was a different educator, if Brian was still in Haslam, but he was a finance professor, here's MoneyBot. And if Brian was an English teacher, here's ShakespeareBot. He's got a sword on his head. He's built from wood, and he's got clay. Exactly. And I'll tell how I got these right here. Thank you, Dr. Jordan. Exactly. That's how I did these, kind of, sort of. And then this is FutureBot. He's a science bot if Brian was an education teacher. And then if Brian taught physics, here's ThermalBot. ThermalBot right here with his meteor core. So all these different ideas right here, I'm actually using Adobe Firefly. I went over to ChatGPT and I said, create something right here. And ChatGPT was like, yeah, that's the best I can do. I said, no. Has anyone ever heard of Adobe Firefly? Adobe Firefly is really excellent. You can upload images to it that you have the ability to use. You're licensed, so you're not using other people's images, but MuBot's something we've created, so it's our own user-created content. And you can create. I was trying to create more of a science robot, and I kind of got this thermal robot, and I was like, I like that. Another great thing, and we do teaching over here with this, is when you take the image, you can actually edit right here, and you can go to generative fill. We're not doing a full class on this right now, but you go right here and say something like, put a smiley face or a smiley face. So used to different prompts, but what we can do with generative image creation now is absolutely crazy. First thing came in my head is put a smiley face, put a heart. I'll take that. That's better. So we'll keep that, and then we'll go to his mouth and we'll say a frown, and we'll make a sad MuBot right here. But the things you can do, especially with image creation right now, if you play with it a little bit, is pretty amazing. Now, the one thing you don't want to usually do with image creation is going to be text usually. AI is really bad in images when it comes to text. It's going to spell words all crazy. So I wouldn't suggest wanting to use any text in your image creation, but we've kind of got a sad MuBot. Not the best, but you can see how you can just work with this and play with this a little bit till you get something you like. And I consider it fun and relaxing to just see, and sometimes you get something, oh, wait, I'd say that's pretty good. There we go. Not too bad. We've got sad science MuBot now. And this is just something that needs to be a personification of you. What are your goals? What are your wants? What are your needs? How do you keep your students motivated? Because really, when it comes down to it, you want your students to achieve their goals. You want them to reach these milestones. There is no cheat code. There's no quick way to do it. They need to progress through the course at a pace. There needs to be checkpoints, as we talked about earlier, for assignments. And then the assignments build upon their knowledge and allow opportunities. There are platforms for foreign languages such as Duolingo, in which Mubot type characters are used for interaction conversations. Yes. And I think, and I especially for the foreign language department, let me ask this, and you can say in the chat, has there been incorporation in some courses of like using Duolingo? Is there ways to connect that into the Canvas API? Digital learning might have some stuff on that, but I'd be interested if it's possible to connect Duolingo. We knew explore this, yes, to connect with the Canvas API, which is basically a bridge between the two. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't teach foreign language. I just do stats. But gamifying in that way, using things they already know, is a great way to encourage students. So when you think about how to gamify for, sorry, I had a cough. When you think about how to gamify, you have to think about your goals. So my goals for my synchronous classes, this is the synchronous part right here. When it comes to a synchronous class, I want them to come to class. So at the start of class, I'll say to them, if you get to class 5 minutes early, you get points for being 5 minutes early. So has anyone noticed this, especially for like Zoom classes? Class starts at, let's say, 12:10, and then everyone's showing up at 12:12, 12:15, 12:20, and then everyone's leaving at 5-10 minutes before. It's like you show up 10 minutes. It's even a Zoom class. You're like, you show up 10 minutes late, you leave 10 minutes early. I don't get it. I don't get it. So feel free to type in the chat. Like, I don't know. It can happen, right? It can happen. Even us educators, we do the same things a lot of times too. It's maybe white students do it too. So I get points if students stay till the end of class, and I'll drop usually the biggest points. And I'll say to students, if you're falling behind, like I have a student who says I'm falling behind, and I say, show up on time, leave on time. We have a saying, we say start on time, end on time. And I do believe that that's a really good policy to hold. I try my darndest to never even end a minute early. And if you watch a lot of my recordings, I bet you almost all of them start when I'm in person. I go, oh, okay, it's 12:20, let's get started. You could probably, like, that professor who walks in every day and says the same thing. If you've ever seen that video where it's like every day they're like, good morning, class, let's get started. It's me. I say, hey, it's 1:35, let's get started. I announce the time, and usually everyone quiets down and just starts class. And I think that creates sort of this environment where we know that we're going to be engaged for these times. Am I perfect? No. Points for not working on computer or texting during a meeting. I like that. Some way to monitor that, right? There got to be a way to monitor that. Stickers, you'd be shocked. I can't even tell you that stickers I consider gamification, but if you have cool stickers, students actually want them. I actually, so it was the semester of COVID 2019. It was March 2020. Students literally emailed me and said, I like that, Dr. Donovan. They said, can I still get stickers? We were in lockdown, and I got emails, can I still get stickers on my assignments? Because I'd been going around class and putting stickers on the 100s. And I was like, it's just a sticker. But no, they wanted it. So you'd be shocked at these little incentives that show them that they did a great job. They respond to these things. So anything that puts a stamp of approval, that does that a little extra, sometimes isn't even a grade, just a sticker. I was shocked. And I got cool ones. I got like SpongeBob ones and different things. And I'd surprise them with the sticker. I told them they needed to try to collect them and see which ones. Excuse me. So it was very, very interesting. Shout outs, something that I would, it's intrinsic with childhood joy. I think so. Exactly. Even NASCAR gives us stickers. True. Students really love shout outs, and try to learn your students' names. I wish I could say that to myself like 3-4 years ago, because I've not been the best educator at it, at knowing every student's names, and it's really hard. And with that, when you say a student's name, and I can usually see it resonates with them, when you don't remember a student, that brings down the relationship. And we want to have this ability to talk to them as an educator, for them to respect us. They'll come to class more, they'll take more value in our assignments, and we have to value them So sometimes just sitting down, I tell my students to print things off and put it on their door or their refrigerator. But just having the students' names on your screen through UTK and try to remember it, and then using names. Use nameplates or anything like that. This is a good way to study the roster exactly, and try to get it down. I'll even there was a student a long time ago now, it was Rudolph. Oh no. Oh no, am I forgetting his name? It was the semester the first Deadpool movie came out because he was so excited. And now today I'm forgetting his name, but I remember his face. And I told him if I forgot his name in class, the whole class got extra credit. And he loved that. You have to kind of understand, and thank you, Dr. Bob, right there. Oh, Dr. Bob in the chat. I'm throwing a heart on that. I think understanding each kind of interaction you have with students, where some students are more comfortable, some students are not, with interacting and talking, finding ways to engage them personally. There's a student I have who's a lot more introverted in class this semester, and I've talked to them outside one-on-one about things. They're very interested in video games and in graduate school, and in class, they're very quiet. I will not try to force them to say even a single word in class. So I like this idea of everyone gets points because everyone learns differently. And maybe you've been in a class where some people talk a lot. And has anyone ever had where that one student kind of gets that reputation of the one who talks, and everyone kind of looks at that student like, oh, you're the one it's going to be that person again. I don't like that because they're the one that's what we want. We want every student to be that student. So what's happened on YouTube now and in my in-person classes is when I give out points, everyone gets excited when one person answers. They're like looking around for someone to answer. And I think creating an atmosphere of it's good to answer questions, and that they're helping us all out, is something we should foster. So I've tried to take away that idea of like, there's this person in class who answers everything, where now if they're answering something, they're helping the class, and people are going to be excited because we just got points because so-and-so knew the answer. One big thing I would beg all educators to do, which I think a lot of us would do right here, is be congratulatory whenever a student corrects you. Whenever a student says, I think you're wrong, say, I think we all probably do that. But once again, I had a negative experience. I can't imagine correcting that professor. They would have probably not congratulated me for correcting them had I done so. But I think the biggest point is being willing to tell someone in a polite way, I think there's an error. And those sorts of communication are what is going to help society the most, is when we can have civil interactions and disagree, even if that person is in a role of superiority. And that is probably the greatest learning, is civility right there. So when students correct me, I try to give them the greatest points. I'm like, no way, oh, I thought I was right. And then I hit the big points button. But here's the problem. Everything I've just said is them interacting with me. It's them live with me on YouTube, in person in class. So if you're an asynchronous, you got to think this whole point system through again. Whether you do a point system or stickers or something, or adding and removing assignments, I think there should be some system in the class that goes beyond do this assignment for a grade. That's what I consider gamification. Is we need more than just here's your grade, here's your assignment, do this. Sprinkle in a little extra. If you do this, you get an assignment removed. If you do this, you get a few points. And it can just be things like attending events, anything. So we are starting assignment early, which can be tracked. A little harder to do. I'd only suggest this for small classes because I've given myself a lot of work trying to put in bonuses for this and being like, oh, last night was when I needed to do it. So 2 extra points on the assignment. I've gone through and went to the Canvas gradebook and just added points for the people who already did the assignment. Ours are linked through my Pearson. So all I had to do was just go in and go 100, 102, 98, 100, and just update all the grades. Doesn't take too long, but once again, works better for smaller classes. Attend a study session. We have SI leaders, so we're really lucky in that regard. So if Moira or any of our other amazing SI leaders were to send us who attended, then we could do an additional homework drop. And this is something, like I said, these events make me think, because why do we give drops? Well, one of the reasons I give drops is because life happens. But if a student ever has a really bad event, or if, has to leave school, we're going to work with them. So I've been thinking, why do we need drops if we're always going to work with students who have events that we need to help them out with? And maybe next semester, I might have no drops on any assignments. Drops are only there for medical, physical, or mental, or life emergencies. It's just something I'm considering. There's no right way to do education. There's just kind of ways that work for your teaching style. And there's better and worse ways. I will say this. The worst mistake I ever made in education, and if anyone wants to put theirs in the chat, the worst mistake I ever made in education was teaching a summer course and having all the assignments open the whole semester. I said the assignments are due at the end of the semester. You have all summer to do them. There's no due dates. If you get the work done by the end of the semester, you're good. And I think everyone here knows what happened. I had a lot of students that last week of summer who had pretty much most of the assignments due. And the test grades weren't good because people weren't doing the assignments before the test. It was the worst idea I've ever done. And sometimes that's the only way you learn. I can't believe I did that. The grades were so bad. I hate it when students fail, and I feel like I failed them. Oh, I forgot the scroll doesn't happen automatically. Do you have issues with quality for Quizlets and study aids? Yes. And the biggest things, to Dr. Gary right there, is you probably see that discussion boards is where you see a lot of really kind of low quality. So you see, you tell students to post on discussion boards, and what you see is, yes, good. I think this. The quality is so low. And to all do at the end, yeah, it's just like, it's tough. So I think you really have to, and I hate to say this, the first week of school is really tough, but we're all going to get more tired. That's correct, Gamma, right? As the semester goes on. But the more you front load and work at the start to tell them, you have to do quality posts on the board. You can't be doing these posts like this. This post does not get credit. It sets the expectation. And that's why on the first day of class, do not make it a syllabus day. I've gone to making a syllabus video. I send them the syllabus video. It has an integrated quiz into it. So they have to know things like, how do you email about absences? When are the tests? What are the grading groups? How many drops are there? Might not be next semester. But this then opens up my ability to teach on the first day, giving me more class time to teach because we're already trying to get through so much material anyways. And then the Canvas quiz, which I literally say something like, so you have 3 drops for homework. Make sure to remember that and write it down. And then a question pops up like, how many drops are there on homework? So if you're just watching the video, you can answer the questions. It's like, please just look at this video for 15 minutes and you will get the points. Not all the students get the points. But if I'm teaching it in class, they'll probably get even less knowledge from it because if they can't answer a question I ask, and you can also even rewind the video. So I was really bummed when I saw the grades on it. They were generally good, but some students got like 70s, and I have no idea why. So once again, front load your start of your semester. Give them easy tasks. If you're doing discussion boards, monitor the discussion board more than you normally would. Give them feedback. Tell them, this is not a good enough post. This is not going to get credit. Just be direct. Be very firm. I am a fun-loving person, but I've found in education, you have to be firm with what is required, with what is expected, and you have to be that even across the board. And I'd love to hear from all the other educators, but this is what I've learned after, I can't believe, 14 years. It's been a wild ride. So points on the exam, another thing, if you curve your exams, why not curve? Instead of curving, why not just build the points into the assignments? So that way, if they're doing bonus little things, you don't have to worry about curving the exam. They're going to get 2 points if they upload a visual study aid for the exam. Now they need to make this visual study aid, so they're already studying for the exam by making the visual study aid, and then they're getting 2 points. And if you were going to curve the exam, usually, if you've done your usual exam for a while, usually curve maybe 6 points like we do some of our exams. Well, now you might not need to curve. Also, grades might be even better because they're spending more time preparing for the exams. I have the courtesy on YouTube of seeing when students view videos, and I will tell you, I know from data about 90% of studying takes place the day of the exam. I always think, oh, great, we have an exam on Tuesday. That means the students will spend the weekend studying. The YouTube channel gets about 600 views. The day of, 9,000 views. And I'm like, why on Saturday and Sunday did we get 5% of the views? Why is nobody watching review videos to help out? Even though I'm sending link after link, check out this, check out that. Football. Let's cancel football. No, don't cancel football. But you are probably correct. And I really think this is the AI to the rescue with MuBots. We've already talked about that. And how to get started. And I do want to take some questions here at the end. But how do you get started? Well, this is the end right here. I teach computers using a digital software system and started giving unlimited attempts on assignments until the due date. And it's amazing how hard they are trying to ace their assignment. Yeah. Also, I give 2 free extensions as long as the request comes in 24 hours in advance and it works well. Dr. Glab, that is an amazing. I am taking advice from that. I think that would be really good. And I like extensions rather than drops. And if you did like how, and Dr. Lab, if you want to say, how long are your extensions? How long do you do extensions for? That's really good. I would say extensions rather than drops. Also, that has students communicating with you, which is a very important skill. You think about what we're teaching them. Life happens. So it's all right if a student has to say, hey, I just couldn't get the work done because I've got this event, that. Allows you to be equitable to all students with all circumstances. And of course, once again, if crazy things happen in life, I always suggest making exceptions. It stops scrolling. 1 week, that's a very nice extension. I think if I click on a message, it stops scrolling. I'm more used to my YouTube chat. So I think that's a great policy and things like that can be used. And then if you think like, however you want to gamify or not gamify, or however you're thinking about this works with you, you might say there's a third extension if you do this event or you upload this assignment, a bonus assignment, things like that. You could get another third extension, especially at the start of the semester when they don't even know they need it. I mean, you might get some students doing that, or for small tasks, just building in these kind of bonuses. And the real gamification is hard to do a lot of times, like the kind of like MuBot type things. I'm very lucky that YouTube lends itself to that platform. So don't start changing things up this semester. Don't start saying, I'm going to download a MuBot. I'm going to put a MuBot in my class. I'm going to switch to YouTube. I'm going to spend all this weekend not watching football. The homecoming game is that this weekend, I think, Kentucky. Don't do that. You need to start thinking about spring 2025, I said at the start, how little bits from today, from the buffet of ADD Brian, how the buffet can, little this, little that. What will hook your students at the start of class? What will get them excited? Maybe they're using Duolingo for part of their language class. If I was a student and I had Duolingo on my phone and I was already using it, I'd be super excited. I'd be like, I'm ahead in this class. I could see that as an excitement right there. Think about something that just gets them joy and excited at the start. And they have to think about, how do we keep this engagement? How do we keep them doing the things we want them to be doing throughout the semester? The big problem we run into here is this. A lot of these things create havoc on our workload. And we're already doing a lot right now. December is usually my 1 week of complete, I'm just relaxing playing video games, 2 weeks of hang out with family, and then mini term and then class. So then I got to build in reformulating what I'm doing. No. Try 1 or 2 things new each semester. Do not completely redo things. If your department comes to me and says, hey, Brian, they redid it and it went crazy and it's your fault, I'll say, I didn't say that. I said, just try a few things. They say, okay, thank you. No, I doubt that'll happen. But always try new things. Do you codify the rules in your syllabus? Yes. And I will say this, especially when it comes to things like cheating, I am so direct in my syllabus when it comes to cheating on what is cheating and how I can send you to student conduct with our plagiarism checkers, that anyone who has an over 50% match can be sent to student conduct. And that's something student conduct, I spoke to them today with about 500 students. I have a few incidents. We had one. but making everything as clear as possible. They know how MuBot works. Once again, you don't really understand MuBot till you experience MuBot, but it needs to be all laid out very clearly with cheating or with bonuses, all these things right there. And then the syllabus is a contract. I was told that when I was a student, the syllabus is a contract, and I hold to that. Huge, huge thank you. And first day, be prepared. But thank you so much.